Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Storyboard.18. Trucking into the Future with Tata Motors has concluded a successful Season 2. This season, we witnessed how the futuristic cutting-edge solutions from Tata Motors are transforming the trucking landscape and making it more efficient, sustainable and safe. To understand the marketing strategy and impact of the campaign, I am now joined by Shubhranshu Singh, Chief Marketing Officer, CVBU at Tata Motors. Thank you so much for joining us today, Shubhranshu, and congratulations on a fantastic Season 2 of Trucking into the Future.
Thank you, Dilshad. I'm delighted to be here yet again and very happy to discuss the campaign which has worked so well for us.
Congratulations, and Season 2 is up and running. Let's talk a little bit about the vision and objectives for Season 2 of Trucking into the Future. Give me a little bit of an insight into what is driving this campaign.
Well, as you know, Tata Motors is a great company in every sense of the word. Not only is it great because it is the industry leader, a pioneer, it has built the entire trucking and mobility space in the country, but also because vitally it is involved in the task of nation building. Truck-based logistics is the platform on which the Indian economy is growing, and we are very proudly committed to serving that cause. And we felt over the years, the kind of innovations that we have brought to market, the cutting edge technology that is now in our vehicles, the ecosystem benefits that we bring to all stakeholders and our customers, and the kind of cost reductions that we are managing to achieve for the end users, all of these are positively impacting the economy. So it is, where I'm concerned and where the team which envisioned the campaign is concerned, it's literally trucking into the future. It's trucking into a sustainable future thanks to great technology, great innovation, affordability, and bringing the full suite of ecosystem benefits to our customers. And that's what we want to showcase and celebrate in this campaign. So as you correctly said, this is the second edition. The vision is consistently the same.
So you had, of course, a great Season 1 and now it is Season 2. Let's talk about how the campaign itself has transitioned and transformed over the 2 seasons, and what are the key levers driving this campaign. Dig a little bit deeper into the genesis of Season 2 as well.
Well, I would say working along with the CNBC editorial team, which did a great part of the heavy lifting here, with the brief that we were constantly interacting with the team on, and with our media agency partners, Havas, I think the idea was to become more bold about the execution, to be more experimental in terms of the number of phases that we were getting into in terms of the elaboration. The first edition followed a slightly more conventional type, if I may say so. It was about bringing leadership voices from across verticals and sectors. Primarily infrastructure, so road construction, steel, mining, cement, but also e-commerce, consumer packaged goods, etc., and get them to discuss their expectations from their logistics requirements, from the providers, from the ecosystem as a whole, and vitally what they think are the requirements from future generation of vehicles. So we had a more sit-down discussion and a panel kind of a thing, which resulted in a grand finale in Delhi at the end of the season. This time, we wanted to do it in a multi-phased manner, and we wanted to bring many more voices. But instead of a conventional discussion in a studio, we wanted to go where the customers are. We wanted to showcase many of our stakeholders and bring that story alive in all its remarkable facets. So that's the change that we did between Season 1 and Season 2, and it worked very well for us.
So what are some of the highlights of Season 2? You know, you mentioned, of course, getting all these different voices in. And I know that you have a very, in a sense, an unconventional approach, a very innovative approach to how you look at marketing commercial vehicles. So again, just spotlight some of the, the key aspects of Season 2 that particularly worked for Tata Motors.
So the one distinction that we cherish a great deal where Tata Motors is concerned, because it derives its ethos entirely from Tata, which is that trust is sacred. Trust is multifaceted concept. But in terms of timelines, pedigree, history, legacy builds the foundation of that trust.
Absolutely.
What we are doing in the present time enables us to earn our trust for today. And what we can showcase of how we are invested in the future or future focused builds continuing trust with us for all our partners into the future. Now, the phases that we wanted to therefore bring to life, the first one was crucially about the customer as an influencer. And it's not only about them saying good things about Tata Motors, it's also showcasing how we are essential to their business operations. Many of them were new customers. Many of them were customers who have been with us for generations and have built their businesses with Tata Trucks over several generations. The connecting glue was that the vehicles, the ecosystem benefits, our provision for spares, services, the inherent reliability of our vehicles and our engines, etc., is giving them a really great value for money and helping them accelerate their business fortune. So the first part was entirely about the customer's voice, not only in the conventional testimonial format, but going where they are, showcasing their everyday businesses, showcasing the applications that they use our vehicles in. And then from there, we moved to the second part, which was about stakeholder expectations at a broader level. What does the industry expect from us? What do our diverse stakeholders, such as financiers, government authorities, regulatory bodies, how are we living up to those expectations? And the last bit was about expectation management in terms of credential building. So we are doing many things which are purely focused on the future, but the future is already here, as in our vehicles today are equipped, whether it is cutting edge telematics with Fleet Edge, or the great reliability of our Turbotron 2.0 engines, or the digitization that brings the benefits of ease of access for services, for spare parts, and a host of other things. So it was, as you can see, in continuum, the customer, a delighted customer, showcasing their businesses, how we are vital to that, moving to stakeholder expectation, how we are committed to driving down the logistics costs overall from about 14% to GDP down by about 5% into the foreseeable future to about 9-odd%. And then lastly, how vital it is that everybody comes together and we are able to take their inputs and their expectations and commit ourselves today to deliver what they need in the near term, mid-term, and long-term future. So that, I think, was the entirety of the campaign.
Because you mentioned expectations, let's talk a little bit about that. How have you seen your customers' expectations or even new customers' expectations changing from a brand like Tata Motors? All these voices that you've gathered, what are some of the insights that have stuck with you?
So, you see, commercial vehicles is a business on wheels, irrespective of what you have. Now, in the case of trucks, these are highly involved purchases, usually done by people who are very cognizant of what they're looking for. And so in terms of their business operations, they are very, very familiar with the end-use application, the requirements, etc. And so you will have a defining edge or a cutting edge only if you're able to evidence greater viability, reliability, because the business earns only when the trucks are running, and also the promise of technology for everyday applications. So whether it is cabin comfort, safety features like collision mitigation or driver alert systems, telematics, as I mentioned earlier, the ergonomics of our design, all of these things go a long way in assuring them that they have made the right choice. And these are not only storytelling means, we are already doing the story doing part of it as well, right? So the two have a great mutuality in terms of been there, done that, but showcasing that we are walking the talk. That really is the purpose of going to a broadcast medium, because we know that the best way in which to gain customer credibility is word of mouth. But we are living in a tele-oral or a digi-oral world, right? So if you have the combination of great products which people believe in and which they swear by, and then you have a broadcast means to reach the maximum number of possible intenders, then you bring the two together, you have an accelerated word of mouth, which is essentially what our intent was.
All right, hold on to that thought because we'll take a quick break to refresh our minds. We'll be right back with more insights from Shubhranshu Singh on Tata Motors' holistic marketing strategy and the impact of their Trucking into the Future Season 2 campaign. Welcome back. You're watching Storyboard.18 and we are in conversation with Shubhranshu Singh, Chief Marketing Officer, CVBU at Tata Motors. Coming to a very key point, of course, in building this narrative and taking it forward. Of course, Tata as a group has always been part of that nation building narrative. Now with this sort of additional focus on building enduring brands and building sustainable brands, when it comes to speaking, talking, engaging with your end customer, tell me a little bit about some of the perhaps challenges to marketing a sort of sustainable future to customers that are essentially looking to take their business to the next level.
Yes, so there are two parts to your question. Let me address the first one, which is about just being in the service of the nation and the national economy. The team in Tata Motors, the brand team, with Mayank, who is the brand lead, we had conceived of a campaign called Desh Ke Trucks, which ran for the last about a year and a half, where we were claiming the rightful stature that, we are the trucks that are moving the nation ahead. So, it had a double correspondence. Ab profitability hogi zyada, Tata Trucks, Desh Ke Trucks. Ab safety hogi zyada, Tata Trucks, Desh Ke Trucks. That platform was very, very well appreciated. Those stories were both organically generated as well as advertising from the OEM perspective. But only we could rightfully claim that we were Desh Ke Trucks. Now, as you get to trucking into the future, the very way it's named suggests that we are talking about the future. And we know that every second that time lapses by, we are, hurdling our way towards the future. And in that sense, sustainability is not a derivative. It is at the heart of what we are doing. So to build a sustainable future means you must have fuel-efficient engines. It means experimenting with new fuels. And we have already commercialized, whether it is electric vehicles in the small commercial vehicles or buses portfolio or hydrogen ICE vehicles. So the entire effort is to make more fuel-efficient vehicles and to have multi-fuel powertrains, so that overall we are moving to a greener, more sustainable future without at all compromising on the business requirements for our end users.
Let me circle back, Shubhranshu, to your point about doing storytelling. It's interesting because we've spoken about this before as well. People have some assumptions about, certain categories, commercial vehicles, for instance. Tell me, how does Trucking into the Future in so many ways epitomize this approach to storytelling that Tata Motors has? Can you give me a little bit more insight into this approach to storytelling and how this campaign, specifically season 1 to now season 2 and season 3, how does it sort of epitomize your approach to storytelling?
Well, there are three parts to this. One is, conventionally, irrespective of what business you may be in, when you advertise, you are making a promise, a claim, or showcasing something great about. Nobody advertises to say we are worse off than somebody else, right? So there is naturally and inherently a filter that people apply saying, you're saying this, is it true? So where do they seek that evidence? That evidence or that corroboration happens from the market at large, which includes influencers, voice of existing customers, general reputation. So a brand is nothing but a reputation of reputations. And in this case, we are blessed not only to derive equity from the house of Tata, but where it is really revered across the country and present in so many different industries and verticals, but also the recognition that we always do things as a pioneer. when the national need arises, we are the first to commit resources and to develop an industry pretty much from scratch. Now, the more you say, you are obliged to do more and more. And the more you do, more you are entitled to say. And it's reciprocal. So the more customers see you, the more they discover about you. The more they discover about you, the more they choose to see you. And that's also, by the way, true for buy. The more they see, the more they buy. The more they buy, the more they see. So this is a very virtuous link, and it is mutually supportive in terms of amplification. The last piece is, if I am let's say a trucker who's engaged in coal mining, I want to learn from the example of other truckers who are also in coal mining. And it's great to have an advertisement for a product, but that product needs to be put into a very hard duty cycle in a really grinding application. And the reliability of that vehicle, its ability to stand the rigors, to monitor, to manage the terrain, to take its load, and yet to provide profitable operations. That's really the litmus test of it. And so hopefully with the consumer voices that we are bringing to the fore, that evidence has been well provided, and it is very credible. That surely was the intent.
Shubhranshu, just digging into the campaign a little bit more, of course, you wanted to reach a diverse number of markets and diverse markets with this campaign, Trucking into the Future, in season 2 especially. Tell me a little bit about your regional strategy, your language strategy here.
Well, that's a very interesting question, because many people forget the expanse of India and where these trucks are in operation. Whether it's building a tunnel in the Zojila Pass, or coastal shipping, or in the mining applications across the country, whether it's Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Orissa, in every corner of our country, which itself is of subcontinental proportion, we find on an everyday, every moment basis, Tata trucks are growing our economy. Now, India is also a land of many languages. And so basically, to be able to reach the intended customer, the truck owners, the truck drivers, the bodybuilders, the financiers, we have been consciously doing a multi-language approach. Usually we do 7, at times as many as 11 or 12 languages, depending on the product line and the business. But in this case, we were consciously trying to avoid an English-only narrative. And also about 1/3 of our spends were devoted to building our credentials in the South. And therefore, through subtitling or through use of language direct, we wanted it to be a multilingual content as it went out.
Absolutely, absolutely. Shubhranshu, let's talk about, because of course it's trucking into the future. Let's talk about the future. What do you, number one, to begin with, hope the impact of these 2 seasons will be on the brand? What are the measures of success? Let's take that first, and then I have a follow-up to that question as well.
So I know for a fact that the previous season was very well received. We had done, as I said, those discussions were televised. We then have a very rigorous process by which we monitor the brand health along several attributes. Not only is it in terms of the eventual brand power, which is a summation of many factors, but also the net preference that people have. Also, we monitor the sentiment of consumers at large. And at the end of the year, we do a fairly massive exercise in customer satisfaction. On all of those, the trucks business has done exceedingly well. I cannot obviously share the exact figures, but I can confidently say that it had been better than before. And also, the trucks business has been going from strength to strength. We have also managed to, and this is in the public domain, enhance profitability by commanding a higher price, yet servicing our business objectives for the end stakeholders completely. So it is a virtuous link. And I think the halo, the positivity, and the assurance that these products work then has a feedback loop which naturally, organically supports the brand. And then the brand is able to reinforce that narrative as well, which we were hoping to do in season 2 and hopefully going forward in many more seasons to come.
So how do you, Shubhranshu, how do you see a platform like Trucking into the Future, going forward? What are you sort of thinking of in terms of a few other levers to add to it? Give me a little bit of, a future-facing view into the platform.
Well, I can give you a sneak preview on our thinking. The brand team is very committed to being always on. So while we may have a tenured program that runs from this date to that date, I think we need to be more evidently present on diverse channels. When I say channels, I mean the means to reach consumers. We have been doing a great deal of our story building and our storytelling on digital means as well. We are moving to snappier, shorter formats because vehicle features, attributes, etc., can be effectively showcased without necessarily getting into long-form video. Thirdly, we want to do much more with influencers, reaching out to customers. And in this case, we have made a great start with customers being influencers themselves. And I think all of these will go a long way in making Trucking into the Future a present continuous rather than a future perfect, right? Because Trucking into the Future, by the time we are done with this episode, we are already in the future. So it's an always on ambition that we have here onwards.
That's a great note to end our conversation on, Shubhranshu. Thank you so much for your time and sharing insights on Trucking into the Future. We've gained a deeper understanding of how Tata Motors is setting new benchmarks with sustainability, technology, and customer-centric solutions. A big thank you to our viewers for joining us today on this special episode of Storyboard 18. Until next time, goodbye.